So I wasn't planning on making any more videos about chess gameplay, but this one was just too funny to me not to post. Um, Starts off with me like setting up a London. Everything's like fairly normal here. Um, Only thing, like I do the accelerated London, what he puts out the other night. I push up this pawn to disable this move because I want to put my bishop here and I don't want him to cover that square. After this, and I see that his bishop can no longer come here, I end up playing this, which I think, because of the way I personally like to play the London, I kind of regret, because I allow him to do this. Now, this is completely fine. I can just take, I can just set up the knight and allow him to do this, except usually when they play this bishop stare down, I like to play this way, so that if he takes, it opens my rook line at the direction he clearly wants to castle. The problem is, because I did it in this position after pushing this instead of knight f3, it allows him to do this because he's now covering it twice. I'm attacking twice. And if my knight were there, he wouldn't be able to do that because I'd be covering it 3 times. And it's too late for me to put the knight there now because then he gets a fork. So because of the way I like to play it, I feel like my sequencing was bad. But I'm like, okay, whatever, we'll make it work. I'm just going to take it, right? This is, pseudo fork. It's not really because it's covered. He takes it with the knight. I say, okay, that's fine. Now I have to think about how to play it from here. I was thinking I could offer, some kind of knight trade. I cannot put this knight here anymore, as that would blunder the bishop, disconnecting it from the queen. I decide, okay, let's just push up the knight. If he takes it and damages my structure, it's a little awkward, but life goes on. Like, we'll figure out a way here. Even though white has lost all opening advantage, we'll figure something out. And he goes here. And I was like, okay, well, you just straight up blundered a knight. I mean, you no longer have the extra attack. And I was like, okay, so I guess I'll just take it. And he doesn't take back. He goes like this. So I'm thinking, huh, okay. Well, he's obviously, going to take this. I take back, and then this is hanging. I could also just move the knight back and be totally fine. But I had this idea because now that he's castled into it, if he takes this and opens up the rook, that's very, very dangerous. I could also just take this. And then if this happens, he could take, but then there's queen shenanigans. So I decide, let's just develop the knight, threaten it, and like go for it, honestly. So he goes, haha, you blundered back. He takes, I take, and then he's like, now I get to win the knight back, and now we're totally neutral, and it's totally fine. And I'm like, no, buddy, nope, not how that works. That's because now I have this classic. Well, actually, maybe this isn't a Greek gift because I don't think the Greek gift assumes the rook line is open. But very like famous idea, attacking with the bishop at the castle king, regardless of whatever it's called. So now he has to go there. Now we back up, and it comes with check. So now he has to go back, and now we go here, and this is just mate. So he does the only thing he could think of to open it. Now if the queen moves, the king has an escape. And I go, yep, that's fine. We just move the bishop here. It's no longer can be taken because of this. We cut off the line. There's nothing he can do to stop the mate. He tries to open up an escape in case I don't see it or I play something else, I guess, and I deliver the mate. And I come back and look at this game. I don't have the actual analysis up, thinking like, was it a mistake to pull the bishop back and see everything? And I was like, yeah, okay, I kind of messed up my early game a little bit, but he just blundered everything after that. I come back and I just see he says suspicious, which I think is so funny. And that's what I noticed. Like, he was over 1350 before this game, and I'm not even back to 1250, considering how much rating points I've lost because I haven't played in such a long time, and I just keep losing to stupid garbage. So I just thought that was so funny. He's like, I'm accused of being a bot, despite how much I botched the early game. But while we're here, things have been pretty damn good lately. Like, just not caring, barely playing. Um, let's uh let's look at one of these other games here. This game, I remember thinking this was kind of an interesting one. So he starts with the king's pawn. I push this so that I can push the knight without him being able to push and attack it. I do so. He does not push back, even though it's defended, because there's a whole sideline common trap that a lot of people at my reading still fall for, is they think, well, okay, this pawn is meant to dissuade this pawn, but now that I have the backup, it's totally fine. But you do it, you fall blunder to this line, right? It looks like you have it, but then I go here, you have to take with the king, and now I have this. Now I'm threatening this pawn, and you can't defend it because then you blunder the fork. So instead you have to go back to hold that, and then I just take and I go up the pawn. We go to a queenless middle game, or it's probably still opening, but like at some point it'll be queenless middle game. Anyway, he puts up the other knight. I push this up. He brings out his bishop. I'm just going to develop my King's Indian style. Okay, so it goes. Now, I was really hoping here that he would play this and just go for this symmetrical opening, because there's this weird line that I love playing when people do this, and it's to go here, sacrificing the knight in order to get this central fork. It's quite nice. It leads to some really interesting plays. Maybe they take, they go here, they go back, hitting the queen. I get to now go here, and they cannot castle anymore. And they cannot push this pawn up to kick the queen away, because that blunders the knight. It's a line I've played many times. It's very fun. Anyway, that does not happen. He pushes this pawn. I guess he wants to dissuade any shenanigans on the g4 square. And after looking like he wants to castle this way, I decide, okay, let's just try to attack. With a take, we could start developing on this side, perhaps pushing these later if he castles. But he doesn't take. Instead, he goes, oh, okay, he wants to do this lineup. And I go, that's fine. I'm just going to take, and now I'm threatening this knight. You're threatening this. So surely now you have to take, and then you'll allow me to develop at some point. But he doesn't. He just takes the bishop. And I'm like, huh? Do you think this is a case where take, and then you get to continue? Because I can just take the knight, and yeah, you're threatening the rook with the capture, so you probably thought I had to take back. Except capturing this knight threatens your queen. So you have to respond to me. I don't have to respond to you. So he moves the queen in. And now this is actually quite interesting, because like the bishop and queen together on these diagonals, very easy to threaten a very fast mate. But I'm not scared. I'm going to go here, because once again I'm threatening a piece, and it will come with check when I hit it. So he goes here, blocking it, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go here, threaten the check, because it's a move that comes with tempo anyway. And then potentially there's ideas like here for forcing a queen trade or something, maybe getting onto this diagonal to hold it later. Because what I'm worried about, well, so he blocks the check with the with the knight, and so what I'm a little bit worried about is if this bishop moves anywhere and doesn't get recaptured, queen here is mate. Now, luckily, this knight is holding everything together, so that can't happen. But still, I'm a little bit scared of this, and I'm thinking, maybe I could go here and try to hold. Maybe I'm overthinking it, and I shouldn't be scared of this at all. But I feel a little bit claustrophobic, and this makes me really nervous a little bit. Like, what am I worried about specifically? If here, like, the knight could... Oh, right. Okay. Before I moved the queen, I was worried that if the knight comes here, he's threatening a mate here as well. Which means that he could take... Oh, no, but knight replaces, and so it's fine, because the knight holds it. But I guess, I don't know, that just means my pieces are stuck and can't move. Because if I move this knight, he could simply take this pawn, and then he's still threatening the mate. So, I don't know. So, I just kind of went dumb. Now that this knight was no longer threatening this, I felt that I could do this and threaten on this square, except that it allows this. So, but instead he takes the rook, and I'm just like, okay, now I'm really nervous about this, actually, because the knight won't hold it anymore. Maybe I could get the queen to this diagonal to hold it. I'm like, you know what? No, I'm not risking some dumb mate. I just take and we trade down. And we're now in a neutral position. Uh, we're both kind of underdeveloped. And I was like, okay, well, I certainly had a lead and threw it, but I don't know. I felt really nervous about that. I was like, okay, well, let's just push this up, not allow him to take this, because otherwise with the stare down, I could never move my bishop. Maybe I have a couple more bishop squares I could go to later. Not this one, but I was like, okay, let's just develop. And it's interesting because I have 2 pawns on him, and he has a rook for a knight. So trying to think about how I can make better use of these pawns as kind of my win condition is what I was thinking about. So I'm like, okay, let's get to the rook to the open file. That always seems good. Let's play very principled. Okay, he wants to threaten that pawn. We're just going to move it up, get some kind of connected thing in the center. He goes here, and I'm like, well, I don't really care to put my bishop on this worst diagonal and give him the better one. So let's just trade. Like, that's fine. Let's get further development. He goes here after this pawn. I don't want to push this up and allow this. I'm just thinking I cannot let him infiltrate. My win condition is these pawns. So I need to just create like a fortress and slowly advance at him. And so here we go. Rook is going to hold any pawns that are weak in the back. He pushes up. I'm like, let's try to get our king more active because we're in an endgame here. He goes like this. I say, that's fine. I don't really want to trade on his terms and give him the squares he wants. Like, sure, if he takes this way, like, now I'm breaking up this, my pawn gets isolated, maybe there's more weaknesses for him to exploit. Well, I guess that's already the case, but right now it could be pushed. I don't know. So I was like, let's just defend and then stay together. Now, in hindsight, I think this is better. A connection of 4 and 2 is probably better than 2, 2, and 2. Probably easier to defend, especially with the king where it is. But fine. So he moves the rook back. So he's really looking for a way to get in, and I'm just kind of not giving him one. And then little by little, I'm just advancing. I push this pawn, thinking now I'm holding these, and now whichever pawn gets advanced, I could always just move that one up to be defended by the other. He's like, oh, I want to threaten your rook here. And I'm like, okay, well, if he does it, it's defended. But then, like, I don't have this held. I don't have this held except by the king if I ever want to move it up. I really like my rook where it is, just holding everything together in the event he tries to look for infiltration. So I'm like, you know what? No, I don't actually want to trade you. I'm going to try this. And now I'm threatening this push, which no longer has an out for him. I'm still threatening this. The knight is still threatening good squares. I'm also threatening this fork of rooks, though granted, not right now, because once again, if I go here, he has this, and it comes with check, and that's really bad for me. But I'm threatening ideas. So he goes here, and I'm like, that's fine. I don't go with my plan before of I can advance the pawn to defend it because I see a good position for my king to start getting more into the game. And even if he goes here, I could just go here. The more I centralize my king at this point, the more I feel it's very strong. Yes, he has 2 rooks, so I still have to be a little bit careful of checks. It's not like I have infinite king safety, but I feel like with the structure I've built, I can afford to get more aggressive with my king. And then I'm thinking at some point I'll have to trade off a rook here to actually like progress fully, but I just didn't feel like before was the time. And I'm like, okay, now my whole board, I'm rock solid. I don't have a single undefended piece. So I'm like, okay, we can make the advancement, hit the rook, and then say, okay, where do you want to go? He goes here with check. I say that's fine. Just move my king toward the center. Hold this pawn. It's the one piece that's unheld by anything else, or by any other piece rather. He pushes that pawn. I'm like, okay, don't really know what that does. Now you've opened up a way for my king to advance. Assuming this rook's not here. Which, I mean, he'll move it eventually. Anyway, I go for this check, opening this back up. I don't remember why I did that. Maybe I was looking for some forks, depending on if he moves this wrong. Or, oh, no. I'm just hitting this pawn, obviously, and then that's going to come with the rook hit. So, very strong sequence. Yeah, okay. I missed that in hindsight, but I saw that during the game. Okay. And it's like, okay, well, now what? Because your rook's being hit. And if you move it, okay. So he moves it, and I realize, well, I don't really like my knight being here. It's not really doing a whole lot. But because of the way he moved it, like, I could defend this or something, but then he pushes, and then if I move it, like, he hits this. So I was just like, okay, I think the best thing is just to go back. And it goes back with tempo because it hits the rook. He moves forward. I go, that's fine, because now we can go here, get to this very powerful outpost. And it comes with check. And I'm like, okay, now we can move our king up again. Because moving the king up, I noticed this puts me in an interesting position where these tiles are all off limits due to my pieces. And if I push this up, that takes away this. And can just basically keep his king back. And he wouldn't be able to take it because the knight holds. So he goes here. And this whole time, I was constantly looking for, like, forks of where I could hit it. But he's often kept his king and rooks on opposite colors for the most part. Like, dark square rooks, light square... well, I guess not necessarily, but I haven't been able to find a fork. However, here, I noticed that I could just take this pawn. He goes like this with the check. And at this point, I feel comfortable enough trading the rook. I feel like I've taken enough advantage. I've taken enough space. I've moved myself forward enough. I don't feel that I need the rook to hold the structure together. Not to mention, I've also just taken pawns, so I just have a straight material advantage. And I'm like, okay, now if you want, I'm willing to trade these rooks. And I do. Maybe could have taken with the king instead. But I felt with where his king is, the kind of threats that I have developing as one singular unit are pretty strong. But then again, outside passed pawn, potentially a protected outside passed pawn, could have been very strong. I don't fully know. He goes here, and it's like, well, without your rook, you don't have this held anymore. And I'm like, okay, first of all, not only do I have it held, but your rook is now trapped. You cannot back up because of your own rook. Staying here is whatever, but this is held. This is held. This is held. This is held. Now, however, this is held by your king. But, well, I mean, I guess he could have backed up now. But I think the engine, I remember looking at this, the engine finds a line where this isn't actually good. Right, because, oh, right, because I can just kick his king away and then take it. So, it's not good. I don't think I saw that in game. So instead I moved my knight back specifically to hold this tile instead, because I realized that would fully trap his rook. Yeah, with the power of the engine, I realized that's not necessary. His king can't hold that square. Well, I mean, what if he had gone here? Because then his king could hold it with this, right? I guess I could kick it away, but no, because then the rook comes in. I don't know. Oop, didn't mean to do that. So, like, really weird position. But yeah, his rook is just honest to God, like, just trapped. Here it is. Okay. So I moved the knight here to hold it. It may not be the completely optimal move, but anything is winning at this point. And so now I'm like, okay, I'm just going to slowly walk and take the rook. And here, like, as he was just moving back and forth, like, oh, what's going to happen? But at this point, I think he spent a long time thinking before he resigned, and I think he realized that his rook was trapped and going to be captured. Alternatively, since the rook is trapped, and there's really nothing he could do about it. His pawn can't move, his rook can't move or it gets captured, so all he can do is move his king around hopelessly, and nothing he does with the king matters. It might have made more sense just to do this, but I kind of thought that if I do it, he could just walk his king over here and hold it, and then if I walk my king over there as well, like, his rook might... No, his rook would still be trapped because of the knight. But I don't know. It just made more sense to me to simplify this and just take the free rook. And then, like, the game is completely free. I don't know. But I thought this was a relatively interesting game because of the maneuvering at the end, and also just because of this weird opening with the all the potential mates that he was throwing at me with like this, the ideas of this, but despite how mate-ish it looked, I felt like I could just hold it until I panicked and no longer felt that way. Well, I mean, I guess it's not even like I was winning by that much. 1.3. and I threw it back to neutrality, like, yeah, I guess I threw away a lead. I should stop coping and being like, oh, it's whatever. No, I made a mistake because I just got a little bit too scared of what was going on here. Um, anyway, I thought that was really interesting. Maybe I could make a couple more videos about my recent games. Just lately, they've just been going really well. Um, yeah, accuracy ratings at about 70 or higher. Uh, yeah. Anyway, I guess that's all for this time.